Welcome to EnigmaCast, nerds. It's been a while since I did a sit-down format type of video on here. And so you know what I decided to do? Because it's my channel, I decided to do a sit-down interview format video right at the end of the year. So I beat the bushes, ran around the block a couple times, stopped some people in the grocery store, and they all told me that I need to check out Angela and her podcast, Sovereign Sisters podcast on YouTube. Stalked her for about 3 months, sent some letters, made some threats, and she finally agreed to come on the channel. So, Angela, welcome to the Ancient Enigma Files, right? You are most welcome here, and I'm very, very excited that you decided to come in and sit down with us and talk. Your channel is very interesting. It is right on the fringe where I like to get down. So before we get into that, thank you, and please tell my Enigmites all about you.
Well, thank you, Joe. That was an incredible introduction. I'm so happy to be here.
What?
This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I'm loving it. I'm loving Enigma Files, and I'm loving what you're doing. And I'm having a great time doing my own podcast, Sovereign Sisters podcast, which has been going most of 2024. I thought about it before, but got it underway, and now we're, steaming ahead. And had you on, and that was a great episode. It got a lot of fantastic response to it, so I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, Angela, we're weird. So, you know what I'm saying? So, welcome.
Sit right in.
Welcome to my world, man. We're weird. Welcome to the weird over here. We get down with everything over here. So, everybody, I will put all of her contact information will be in the description of this video. You know how we do. Go over there, watch the episode that I did with her, and then, you know what, give her a subscribe, give her a like, give her a follow. Say something, rude in the comments because it's good for her algorithm. And you know what, we'll give her a good old-fashioned Enigmite welcome. So, Angela, thanks for coming in. I know it was last minute. I know, but like I said, I really appreciate it. So here we go. So before we get into it, we talk about some stuff. Angela, I want you to give us my crew over here a basic rundown on your channel and the content you cover, please.
Sure. So it started out when we first started that there were three of us, two other ladies and myself.
And you killed them.
And
You killed them, didn't you?
No, I didn't, honestly. I let them use their sovereignty and go their separate ways.
So what we're going to say is that a knife fight broke out in a dark alley and 3 women entered and 1 left. Okay, so there you go. That's how it's okay. So no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I told you.
I won.
So, anyways, go ahead.
The whole point I was going to make is we were part of another group, and we'd all given presentations. And so we said, why not do it ourselves? Why not have a podcast? And of course, I'd already had another podcast, but my focus was very narrow. By profession, I'm an integrative health and nutrition coach. So my podcasts were all about health and wellness. And I thought, this is getting boring, even just for me. I said, I need to expand to, myself to a broader audience, because I am a broader person than that. I think more widely. I love delving into research and coming up with things that people don't think about, or bringing out the hidden, just like you do.
Yeah, right.
I don't go to cryptids, but I go more into sovereignty, natural law, things that help people be autonomous. That's my whole point here. Sovereign Sisters is about helping people retain or get back their autonomy, because in the last 4 years, I've seen so many people give up their sovereignty, give up their autonomy, especially their bodily autonomy, which completely freaked me out. I'm like, how can you step up and do that and wind up not even knowing what you're getting or what you're doing, and then you're in a situation you feel like you can't get out of. So my goal is to provide information, unearth things people haven't thought about, or give them my perspective on things that maybe they had never thought about. I don't like to preach to people. I'm not out there trying to say, you should do this, or if you don't do this, you're wrong. That's not it. It's all about just bringing the facts, bringing the information, and saying, this is what I might do, or this is what I've seen done. What do you think? How do you feel about doing things differently? Because obviously the way we're doing it now isn't going very well. We're headed down the toilet as far as I can see as a country.
No, it's absolutely right. And so this is where where we have overlap in our fields of research is because I watched some of your videos about, basically, for lack of a better word, I'll use the term holistic healing techniques. Did I get that right?
Right.
And so a long time ago, something was told to me when I was growing up in the Appalachian Mountains. I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains down there, and down there was a lot of, I hate to use the word, I hate to use the word herbalist, right? Because it really is not what it was. It's just the women of that generation that grew up, and I'll use the, I use the Little House on the Prairie reference, right? Like the Little House on the Prairie reference, my grandmother included. There was recipes for when you got sick that I remember the first time I ever had to take an antibiotic. I remember it. I was like 14. I'm not even joking when I said that. Like I was like 14 years old the first time I ever had ever taken an antibiotic. Now I had also had, and as a kid growing up, man, you got strep throat. I had probably the worst case of chickenpox that a man could possibly ever have. They were in my ears. I had chickenpox in my throat and in my ears. It was bad, right? And I remember one night I was burning up with a fever, and my grandmother put me in like this ice, like I was probably 7 or 8 years old, put me in like this ice bath. And I do remember growing up that honey was a lot of to do with recipes for healing. And then it seems like we went away from that for like 30 years, 40 years. I mean, like till today is what is going on. But I've noticed over the last couple of years, I had a random conversation. That's why it actually gave me the epiphany. I had a random conversation with somebody in a parking lot after a soccer game. And she told me that, she said, everything that we've ever need to heal ourselves is already on the planet, right? It's already here, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then my tinfoil hat kicked in, because you've heard, if anybody watches my show at all, I will tell you that we've been lied to forever from day one, right? And the things that they give us to tell us to help us is really, really not that helpful. And so that's where our channels come into, a little bit of overlap on that, because they will not cure a customer, right? We're not patients to them. We're customers, right? Agreed?
That is correct.
Yeah. And so that's why I was like, all right, I'm on this, right? I'm a genius. Smartest man alive. Only took me forever to figure that out. So yeah, so your channel gets into that and talks about that, and you've actually helped people. Like I think you've actually helped people that were heavily medicated come off their medications, right?
Yeah, in my clinical practice, I've had people who came, a lot of people come to me who want to get off their medications and find a natural solution, because everything we need, God has given us.
Yeah.
It's, there are herbs and there are essential oils from plants. There's just everything here. Plus, we're self-healing.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about, you had a fever. Well, your body's detoxing from something when you have that fever. The average person will try to suppress that fever and not let it happen, but that's the body's response to whatever's going on. So for me, that when someone comes to me and says, I'm on 10 different medications and I've really decided I need to get off, you have to break that down, because those medications are chemicals.
Yeah.
Our bodies aren't meant to handle chemicals. And so in order to do that, you have to figure out what those chemicals do, how to process them out of the body, because they're toxic usually. I know they do have some effect, and there are some medications that are necessary, especially in emergencies. But for the most part, we're not supposed to chronically be on medication. It's not supposed to be a lifetime of pills. And that's what our medical system is set up for. Get you on something, keep you on it forever, because we are the customers. If we got well, they'd make no money. So instead of trying to heal us, they try to keep us in that in-between. Yeah. You're not dead, but you're not well. So keeping you sick is a profitable business.
And see you at the pharmacy every 28 days. I mean, it's true. And so in preparation for our sit down and checking out your channel, I did some fun fact research on this, right? Do you know that in the United States of America, the hospitals used to have a place called a sun deck? And yes. I didn't know this until literally 4 hours ago. And so, so I studied hard for this, Angela. I got deep. I went deeper into the weeds for this. A sun deck, right? And it was part of the regiment that you would get outside for X amount of time to get, sun, because our bodies, take in that sun and it helps you to repair. The human body is actually incredibly hard to kill, right? We're fragile to certain events, right? But like the human body wants to survive, right? And then something I got into, I actually ordered some of these a couple of weeks ago. I'm about to order some more. Is that the healing properties of linen? That linen is extremely healthy for your body. In fact, all bed sheets in Japan are made of linen. There was once upon a time they were linen here in the United States of America. But again, probably around 1943. And if anybody knows what happened in 1943, you would understand why. They probably started taking them all away for reasons. So yeah, that right there got me even digging into more stuff about grounding and about walking around outside. So Angela, are you familiar with that? I know you are. Can you break that down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to take each one of the points that you said.
Please,
so you
good.
talked about the sun decks.
Because I spent my magic on those three things right there.
And I'm gonna take you up on all of them.
All right.
So the sun decks, I'm the youngest in my family, and it spans many years. As a matter of fact, I'm the only one still living. That's how many years it is. So my mother was much older when she had me. And at one time in her life, she was sent to a sanatorium for her health reasons. And one of the things they did is put you out in the sun so you absorb the vitamin D. That vitamin D does all sorts of things. I mean, processes cholesterol and, it helps with your mental status. So I understood, even, just from the stories she told me when I was a child, I'm like, there's something valuable about being outside in the sun. And as a kid, I was always encouraged to go outside. Yeah. It was things that she said you needed to do to be outside in the sun. And then the other thing you were talking about with the, now I lost it. Where'd we go after sun decks?
Linen sheets.
Oh, linen sheets. Everything in this world has to do with frequency, vibration, and energy. And linen has one of the highest frequencies for a textile. And that's why wearing it is so much more beneficial for you, because it raises your own frequency. And we need to have a high frequency, because when you're at a low frequency, if you just relate it to your moods, when you're in a low mood, how bad you feel. And when you're in a good mood, you feel like you're up and you're high. Well, that's what this frequency does. It actually helps with your mood. It helps with your whole being. So that's an important thing, to start getting rid of polyester and all those, fabricated things, nylon, Dacron, all those things that are man-made, basically, and go back to natural things.
I got rid of all my Speedos. I'm rocking nothing but linen drawers, man. That's it from here on out, man. All gone. It's all gone.
It will actually make you feel better.
Yeah.
It really will.
No, I'm serious. I'm wearing nothing. All my underwear is linen underwear. I'm slowly replacing it. That's how. I told you we're weird over here, Angela. Right?
I love it. I love it.
Right?
I'm gonna have to go and see if I can get me some.
Yeah.
I tend towards cotton, but that's okay. Linen's a little too expensive for the drawers.
That's why I'm buying them every paycheck. I'm getting one a paycheck. I'm slowly restocking.
Okay, that's good. The other part that we talked about was grounding. Grounding is very important, because we need to get those negative ions that are in the soil into our body to regulate us. And people think, well, I can only do that in the summer. That's not true. Like 90% of the time, I walk barefoot, especially in the house. There's no reason to wear shoes in a house in the first place. Maybe I'm Japanese in another lifetime or something. I don't know. But when you're outside, like in the summer, walking on the sand, on the grass, on whatever you can that touches the earth, really energizes you. You get the energy of the earth coming through you. I know with me, if I'm working outside and I tire out, the first thing I do is I make sure, like if I'm in shorts or something, or I'll pull up my sleeves and I'll just lay flat out on the ground just to kind of absorb that energy from the earth. But in the wintertime, you still can do it. If you're out walking, carry a walking stick, a wooden stick. Get a tree limb that's fallen off. God knows with all these storms, there's tree limbs everywhere. Use that and touch the ground. It'll come through that stick to your body. It is so important to be grounded, because you've seen and heard the expression, "Oh, that person doesn't feel grounded," to me, because they're not in touch with themselves. They're not in touch with the earth. And that's the whole point of it. We need to get more in touch with nature to make us the human we need to be. Humans are part of nature. And without being in touch with nature, we become somewhat synthetic ourselves. We need to be all organic. We need to be in nature all the time.
Yeah, so I got some fun facts for you, because part of the show, I'll bring these fun facts in. I did some research. I found this out a couple months ago. Filipinos from the Philippines, not Filipinos in the United States of America. Filipinos, they don't suffer from depression, and the reason why it's wild. The reason why is because of the amount of vitamin D they absorb, and their high fish diet of the omega-3s that they get in the body. So the depression is not a problem, period, in the Philippines, right? And the Native American cure for anxiety, wait for it, is to literally hug a tree for like 10 minutes, to put your hands on a tree. This is fascinating to me, right? To put your hands on a tree or lean your back up against a tree and sit down for about 10 minutes, and it will pull the anxiety out of your body. It will ground you. It will pull you down, right? And I thought to myself, well, that's awesome. Number one right there, right? That's what I thought, right? I thought that was super cool. But yeah, so I have adopted a lot of this year. As a matter of fact, I got hip to the essential oils a while back. As a matter of fact, I have a diffuser running right now with some lavender in it. I do it for all the broadcasts, right? In case my guests like you stress me out, man. You know what I'm saying? I got to be able to stay cool, right? But I also really found the healing benefits of this thing called Turmeric, like this Turmeric tea, like Turmeric milk tea with pepper in it. I don't know. Are you familiar with that recipe and honey?
Turmeric?
Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, turmeric. That's all right.
Angela, I grew up in the South, all right? I don't know how you Yankees like to say it. Well, how I said it was the right way, so you need to dumb it down a little bit.
I can't be a Yankee because I'm below the Mason-Dixon
That's it,
line.
right? So hey, exactly. Stop pretending you're better than me, right? You know what I'm saying? Right? So yeah. Turmeric or turmeric. I put R. Turmeric. That's a southern way of speaking. We just add extra
whatever
R's.
works for you. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but turmeric milk tea with honey and black pepper in it will knock a sore throat out of your body in about a day. I'm telling you, man, it is amazing. So basically, you heat up some milk, put some wildflower honey, local honey is probably the best. You put that, how do you say it again? How do you say it again?
Turmeric.
Turmeric, right? There's an M in there, right? I'm leaving the M out. Turmeric. You put that in there, and black pepper to help it absorb into your body, and it will cure a sore throat, right? Quickly.
Golden milk. That's what it's called.
What's it called? Golden milk?
Golden milk.
Yeah. So it was amazing. It's amazing, right? And so that leads me into another direction that I want to go down this conversation with. Is that you remember when the daggone swine flu came out, like way back in the, I can't even remember when that was, man. Do you remember the scare?
Like 2005, something like that.
Something like that, right? So my son was probably, oh my gosh, I don't even know, maybe 7 years old. And they were giving those vaccinations at the school, right? And I was like, no, don't give my kid that vaccination from the school. But they took the other kids in there and they were giving them the vaccination up their noses. I don't know if you knew this or not, right? And so when they came out afterwards, they just put them all back in Gen Pop, and they gave my kid freaking swine flu, right? So like he comes home like 2 days later, and it was the year that Maryland got smoked by this insane blizzard that lasted for like 2 weeks, right? And he was there. He was very, very sick, right? And I was like, man, I got to get this kid to the emergency room, right? And people were like, look, man, you got to break his fever with Tylenol, with Motrin, with Tylenol, with Motrin, right? It wasn't working. So I called 911. I was like, hey, look, man, I got a sick kid here. I know he's got the swine flu. And like I said, I cannot get out. And they're like, hey, look, we'll come and get you, but we're not bringing you home. And I was like, okay. I said, well, now what I'm going to do, you're going to take my kid to the emergency room. You're going to give him whatever. And then I'm going to have to hump him back however far, like back to the house. But I had a coworker tell me, and this is where I'm going with this, that if you put raw onions on your feet, it will break a fever. And I was at that point where I was like, you know what? I got to try anything. I was a single parent, so I got to try something, right? Went downstairs, had a big old white onion down there. I chopped it in half. Went upstairs, put the cut half on each of his feet and put on a pair of socks, right? And tied it around there, right? That fever broke in like 9 minutes, right? And I could actually smell the onions were doing something weird. Like it was like, I don't want to say pulsating, but like it was, the smell would get loud for a second. And then it would like, I could really smell the onion and then it would fade back. And then like the next day he was better. It was all gone, right? It was wild. So I don't know why I never got hip to that, thing moving forward. But then now, like I said, we went through the whole last, things that we went through. You know exactly what I'm talking about there. YouTube. That's my YouTube smile. That's my creepy YouTube smile. But it got me thinking too. Yeah, it got me thinking about something I want to bounce off you too, is that when I read the Bible, I read the Bible a lot, and it talks about every time you read the Bible of an angel showing up, he's wearing linen. He's wearing white linen. And every time you see a vision of a prophet or, Jesus or somebody shows up, when they describe his clothing, their clothing, they say it, he's wearing the purest, whitest linen, right? But also when I read the Bible in there, right before the flood, our bloodlines were we lived a lot longer, but we're supposed to live up to 120 years, right? And we don't do that anymore. Yeah, we don't do that anymore, right? And if you live to be, late 80s, early 90s, it's considered to be. But then again, you're like, do you want those years? That's the question. I'm not trying to be mean, but again, y'all are on my channel, so look, do you want those years though? And I thought to myself, what is shaving off those 40 years that we're supposed to have, right? Why are we capping out at like 80, 83, 88, like when we're supposed to be like 120s, right?
You want me to answer that? Because I do.
Yeah, I do. I actually.
So the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, and all the chemicals we put on our body are toxic to us. So it doesn't kill us right away, but it slowly degrades our bodies so that when you get to your 70s, 80s, 90s, no wonder you're sick. No wonder your body's breaking down. The body is miraculous. It fights against all these things that we put in it and on it and we expose ourselves to. And like you said, body just wants to stay healthy. The body wants to be, homeostasis is that balance that we're supposed to be in. And that's what the body tries to do. But we assault it every day. And using we in the general term, I'm certain there's plenty of people who live a more holistic lifestyle. But the average person eats a standard American diet, which is full of chemicals, genetically modified organisms. It has no nutrients. You're basically eating what is called anti-nutrients. So your body's not getting anything. And so even despite what you're doing to it, the body keeps trying to repair itself and trying to get you back on track towards homeostasis. But instead, we as generally speaking, we are bombarded by things. Even if you're living a healthy lifestyle, eating well, drinking filtered water, exercising, getting plenty of sun, just going outside with the chemicals that are in the air. And you know what I mean? They're spraying them all the time.
Yeah.
I can go outside, but my sky is crisscrossed with stuff. I don't know what they're spraying, but it does have an effect on you. For me, I will go out. Sometimes my eyes will water. I'll start sneezing. I'm like, this can't be good for me. It's causing reactions. And it may not happen right away. It may happen a few hours when that stuff drifts towards the ground. But ultimately, if we didn't have all these assaults on our body, we would live longer. 120 is not even generous enough. I mean, in the Bible, how many years did Abraham live? Wasn't it like over 600 or something?
Oh yeah, man. Like no, like these guys had some lifespans, and I'm some legitimately long lives, right? And it also takes me back to, the book of Enoch it's this book right over here, right? It's the book of Enoch that I talk about as well, and the other books that we're taking out of the Bible, and I just find it hard to believe. Right. I told you my channel's weird, so Angela, you signed up for this, so I'm gonna get weird here for a second. I find it hard to believe that people who were living supposedly on camels in the desert, having to deal with Persians and all this, and basically life could be taken away at any moment. I find it hard to believe they live longer than us. I'm just saying something but they did, right? So it did. So something like back then, living in those days, seems to me that lived longer than what we had, than what was.
But think about what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were living outside mostly.
Right.
They were eating off of the land that they had. They weren't manufacturing things in a plant like we do now. Yeah. So we're eating foods native to where they were. They had to be physical, using their bodies in order to build things or just to accomplish what their day-to-day things. They didn't have the conveniences that we have. So they were living like we're supposed to live. You're not supposed to sit in the house. You're not supposed to be, on these little boxes that we talk into right now. Yeah. We're supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be doing things that use the physical nature that God gave us. And unfortunately, we have become a nation of weaklings where we want things convenient. We want things now. We can't wait for things. And that to me is so irritating. And because one of the things I tell my clients right off the bat is you have to rethink convenience. Convenience is not that it's at your fingertips, but it's providing you with what you really need. What you need is not just something now. What you need is something that's beneficial for you. So those people living in that age, they didn't have choices. They could only eat off the land. They could only eat, whatever animals were around. And they could only cook it in a way that, maybe an open fire. Mm-hmm. So we have all these things that just destroy food. I mean, cooking food in microwaves, you might as well throw it away. It has no nutrient value whatsoever. Right. Microwaves should be banned, first off. Right. I don't use one. I don't like them. And they are not good for you. But we think in convenience terms rather than in human terms. We're meant to live longer if we provide our bodies with what it needs. Yeah.
Well, that's a great point too. Excellent. And Enigma, before I get into that though, so Angela, are you familiar with intermittent fasting?
Yes, I actually do time restricted eating myself.
Can you run that down for us? Because I do it too,
Sure.
But I can't really explain it that well, but I do it as well.
Sure. Intermittent fasting means that you spend more time not eating than you do eat. Mm-hmm. So most people follow the 16-8 rule, which is 16 hours where you fast, not eating anything, and 8 hours where you put your meal in. Typically, that is a shortened window. So for me, it would be, because I do time restricted, meaning between certain hours of the day. Time restricted eating is just a form of intermittent fasting. So maybe between 11:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. will be my window to eat. And then outside of that, I fast. And it's not difficult. Your body adapts to it. If you're used to eating like every 6 hours, which they told us years ago, which is ridiculous
3 times.
because your body can't keep up with that. No wonder people say, I can't lose weight and I'm eating 6 meals a day. And well, your body's working all the time trying to process food. So stop that. The less you eat, the more efficient it is. But the less you eat has to be high quality, dense, nutrient dense food. So intermittent fasting is just one way of getting your body on track and not adding in all those, basically, like I said before, anti-nutrients or food that has no need to be in your body. So it's not just for losing weight, it's also for maintaining health.
Right.
If you're eating all the time, like I said, your body never goes through the process of resting and digesting. So if you're eating all the way up to bedtime, the reason why you're not sleeping well is because your body's working all night trying to digest that food. So if you do the intermittent fasting and stop eating 3 hours, let's say, before bedtime, and your body can relax and sleep and not worry about churning out that food and processing it through the body.
And another thing too that I've discovered too, Enigmites, is that, you know, if you've been on my channel, you know I have a nonprofit called Project First Step that deals with mental health. You know that intermittent fasting actually improves your health as well, because when the body is hungry, the first thing it does is start I hate absorbing or breaking down defective brain cells. And and it forces your body to produce newer and healthy brain cells. And I thought that was fascinating. Just another, like I said, the human body is amazing. And what it is that what really got me into fasting is that I read something, I don't know, months ago, probably a year ago by now, that made perfect sense to me, is how, obviously, I focus on men's health, right? Call me biased. I say it, but like, so I don't read too many women's health magazines, right?
That's your specialty, by the way.
Exactly right. So, call me selfish, all right? So I was reading this article about men's health, right? And I was in the military, and what it was is I was actually down by the, I hate to put this out there because this will be used against me by somebody. I was down by the Naval Academy, and I saw the cadets, and I thought to myself, you have to be effing kidding me. I was like, what are they feeding these fatties? That's literally what came to my head, right? What are they feeding these fatties, right? I thought to myself, there is no way. It's all about, and when you're in the military, if anybody that's watching this show that's been in the military, combat effectiveness is important, right? And your number one tool or weapon is your body, right? And so there's a reason why we run all those miles and we're at the gym and doing push-ups and sit-ups, right? Because, newsflash, sometimes you have to fight, right? So, and normally when the person you have to fight wants to kill you, right? So there is no timeout, or the first one knocks down is over, right? And your cardio is the first thing that goes out in a fight. I don't care what kind of fight you're in, your heart rate or whatever. And I read this article saying that the male body, and it made perfect sense, the male body, and we've also talked on this channel too about how our bodies are perfectly created for this planet, for like this earth, right? Male and females to coexist both have extremely different responsibilities, especially if we go into the Hunger Games, right? The male body was not meant to eat every single day. It wasn't. We were meant to track down caribou or tyrannosauruses or whatever it was, man, a woolly mammoth, right? And, 20 or 30 of us would have to go out there, take it down, right? And even the Native Americans, when they did it, right, they would go out and they would, I'm sure before they had horses, killing a buffalo was probably a lot more dangerous than it was when you had horses, right? And there, again, Enigmites, there was a time that the Native Americans have called the time before horses, because horses didn't get introduced to this continent until the conquistadors rocked South and Central America, and they just migrated north. I thought to myself, dang, man, that makes a lot of sense, right? And also it convinced me that because I'm a dude, that I'd never need to eat another vegetable the rest of my life. I just need to eat pure meat, right? No, I know. And I'll be good to go. But the male body, the human body, I agree. We weren't meant to eat 3-4 times a day, right? And every single day, right? And I think that that's why I enjoy like intermittent. I enjoy my intermittent fasting, right? I only eat 2 meals a day, anyways, and it's not really even a meal. So I won't eat anything for breakfast, and I'll have something, around 1 or whatever. Then I won't eat again until about 8 o'clock, right? And then 8 o'clock, and then that's it. And then I go to bed around midnight or 11 every night. Like I said, that 3-hour gap that I have in there is right. And I tell you what, man, I incorporated that into my diet, along with I take 2 supplements. I take sea moss and this thing called Moringa, and then
Moringa is like the best thing for you.
That's it. Break that down for us. Break that down for me, Angela. Tell them about that Moringa. I have a bottle of it somewhere around here.
Well, moringa is a plant, and it just provides so many nutrients for you. I think it's one of the healthiest things you can take. That your sea moss is great. I mean, there are so many things that people can take that will benefit their bodies, but I think too many people are caught up in this either prescription model, take what the doctor says, or supplement model, take all these things that are advertised for you, and like the 1-a-days. Literally, it is not worth it. What you're taking with the moringa and the sea moss are food.
Yeah.
It really is just made into a supplement. And that's really what we need to look at. The model that you're talking about with the intermittent fasting, what you were talking about with the cells, it's called apoptosis. The cells that are dying off, the apoptosis.
That's what I was going to call it.
Absolutely, I knew it. It's flushing out of your system, so new and more vibrant cells can regenerate. And that's what I was talking about. We are self-healing. We do that naturally. We just get rid of the old. But if you're constantly pumping in food, or if you're constantly pumping in crap, and I'm going to take a exception with your shirt, by the way, that's part of the crap that you should not be putting in your body.
Big old bag of Doritos, don't forget.
And have either if you want to stay healthy. You really have to stick to food. I mean, real food doesn't come in packages for the most part. Real food is ingredients. If it is an ingredient, it is real, meaning it's one thing. Everything that has a bunch of ingredients is not a real food. That is just a packaged or processed product. We really should be focusing on eating one whole thing in a meal. Whether that's, a vegetable. I'm not saying you can't add spices or sauces or whatever.
Or turmeric.
But the focus.
Some turmeric on them green beans.
Or some black pepper.
Right.
All that is good. So you just need to focus on something. If you can buy it without a package, like in the produce section, and make sure, unfortunately, we have to look for organic because the rest of the stuff is grown with pesticides. And I don't care how much you wash it and everything, those things permeate
well, it's it. It gets in the soil too, and it comes up through the root system.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's
inside.
Nutrients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. Also, I added to it, before I take you down a real tinfoil road right here. I drink.
Don't forget that we have an episode where we wore tinfoil hats.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So we're right there with you. We wear our tinfoil hats.
Hydrogen waters. I'm big on that as well. I just broke my hydrogen water machine. I got to order another one when I get back from my traveling on that. I'm gonna order one more in there. But hydrogen water is amazing for you too as well. All right, enough of this boring eat healthy Dr. Pepper's are bad stuff. All right, enough of that crap. All right, enough of it. All right, we get it. Now let's dig into some fun stuff. So check this out. Do you think there's a concentrated effort to poison us to kill us? Because I do.
Absolutely.
Right?
It has been for the last 100, 150 years. I think since the Rockefellers came up with the idea of converting their petroleum byproducts into chemical medicine. That's really all they are. They're chemicals. And that's how they use their waste. And so we're still to this day taking those petroleum offshoots as we think as medicine, where, as the Bible said, God gave us herbs and for the service of man. That's our medicine, not this petroleum byproducts.
Yeah, so let's dig into that Rockefeller situation there is too. The Rockefellers, the Morgans, I'm thinking there's one more else. The Rothschilds. I've often, not often, but recently came into the determination that when Jesus picked his 12, you know, I'll even take it back, man, to let's go back to when Jacob had his 12 sons that went on to become the 12 tribes of Israel, right? A lot of people get it confused that Judaism was their religion. It wasn't their tribe. They were the tribes of Israel is what they were, right? And so it doesn't matter. It's tomato, maybe. And then God picked Jesus picked his, 12 disciples. I actually think Satan picked 12 families himself. I actually do. I said we're getting weird here, y'all. We're getting weird. I think
I don't doubt that you were on the right path.
Yeah.
Because for me, I thought there were 13 families that basically were the upper tier echelon that were running the world.
So when you start pulling these threads and you start going back, and again, the elites, that they are huge into their bloodlines.
I won't call them elites because there's nothing elite about them. They're globalists. They want human domination.
See? You're dropping the big words now, right? So anyways, those guys, they're very, very big into their bloodlines, right? And when you go back, like, I'm a huge history buff, right? I like reading history. I like seeing the nuances of history, right? And the absolute brutality of history, right? J.P. Morgan was a savage. He was a straight up savage, right? And so were the Rockefellers, right? And if you know anything about their home base out of Georgia, which was called a place called Jekyll Island, is where they, had their Freemason meetings and stuff like that. And they also, human sacrifice took place down there. I challenge anybody to dare me on that. They don't even hide it. It's not even really hidden, right? He specifically...
Everything's out open now. Everything.
He specifically built his house on a rock that was used for human sacrifices. Now, a normal person looking to buy a house, that ain't a selling point for me. You know what I'm saying? So, but for him, this was a selling point for whatever reason. And so when J.P. Morgan, if you don't know who J.P. Morgan was, he was a major guy. A matter of fact, financier. Like he started Wells Fargo, the bank of Wells, and they're still everywhere, right? But he also kind of hostilely took over the railroads back in the day, right? This dude was ruthless. I'm talking about he was absolutely ruthless, right? And when I go back and I say, well, it's coming back to what you said, is that how evil do you have to be sitting around with some cigars talking about how do I make money off of this wasted oil? I get it. Let's turn it into aspirin and give it to people, basically snake oil, and then say, well, you know what? To really get them to take it, we got to figure out a way to make everybody sick. Right. It's like the healthy mind is not having that conversation. It just doesn't happen, right? Like I've never sit around and say, you know what? If I was going to sacrifice to a demon, what would it be, right? So that just doesn't happen to normal people, right? In a normal conversation, there has to be some type of intentional.
I think it was demonic possession.
Yeah,
is what I think. They've made an agreement with the devil to get what they want. And for people who don't believe that, then they haven't lived through the last 4 years, is what I say. Because there's a lot of that out there.
Intentional malevolence, right? Malice right there. Intentional malice right there is what it has to be. You're trying to hurt somebody. And I'll even take it back. You're trying to hurt a lot of people, right? And then when I didn't know this.
The Georgia Guidestone put it out there. They wanted 500 million people.
Yeah.
That meant 7.5 billion people had to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Who thinks that way? Who thinks about killing off most of humanity?
Yeah, right. right. So that right there is a level of, and I tell people this on my Instagram platforms mostly. I get people to come at me and they DM me and they ask me, so it makes sense, but I'm struggling with the why. And the why of it is literally very simple. They hate you, right? And I don't understand why people struggle with that. And I do understand it now is because one of the countries I've never been to, I will say, is I've never been to Burma, right? I've never been to I've never been to Vietnam, right? Or Burma, right? Or any place like that, right? I've been to a lot of other countries, right? I don't think about Burma. I don't think about Vietnam ever, right? If I ever got the opportunity to go there, I totally would, right? But I don't think about them at all. And if I was to think about them at all, it wouldn't be like, how can I kill everybody in Burma? That wouldn't be the thing that came into my head, right? It would be like, what's the time zone like? What do they eat over there? Is it hot? Does it rain a lot? Just that like normal stuff. So when people say I can't figure out why, it's because you have a healthy mind. I'm saying
they don't have that frame of reference.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Your frame of reference is not an evil one.
Yeah.
It's to live a good life for
Yeah.
the most part. The average person just wants to live a good life.
Yeah.
But if you have an evil frame of reference and that's who you are, killing off people doesn't seem so far out there. And many of these people are psychopaths. I mean, they really are psychopathic.
They're actually worse than that. And there's a combination that people often overlook that I tell people about. They're narcissistic sociopaths is what they
Absolutely.
are.
Absolutely.
And so a narcissist is bad enough on his own because when a narcissist loses control, they get violent. But a narcissistic sociopath, they go down. The better term for it is also too is a God complex, right? Where they feel that it's their divine right to take you and mold you, and you're just a breeder and an eater. I've heard that a lot of times. You don't know any better. And so you're kind of a waste of space, and you know what? We're just going to, enjoy your time or whatever, and then we'll get rid of you. But I actually think that there are 13 or at least 12 families, and I know the major players that are in the United States of America. The Rothschilds are really more UK, that area, but the Rockefellers and the Morgans are 100%. This continent that you're sitting on, man, and all from Argentina all the way up into Canada, 100%, right? I think this was their area of operation that they were assigned on, and they did. And another thing too, I'll challenge you as well, all you Enigmites. I like to go and do like historic tours, right? Like I went to Harper's Ferry recently. I also went down to this place in Virginia over the summer. I'm drawing a blank on it, but it was a Jamestown. Is there a Jamestown, Virginia? So like
Yes.
they have a village down there that's basically the old village, how it was back in the day. There's a university that connects, right? You can literally walk off the university right into the village, right? And so we were just walking around, and you won't find a university that's not dedicated to the Rockefellers. You won't find it, right? You won't find a university that has it, that doesn't have that dedication plaque somewhere on their campuses. So what they do is, and this is where, it's very important that I tell people that you need to respect your enemy. It's dismissive to say that they're evil and not imply that they're not extremely intelligent, because not only did the Rockefellers and the Morgans say, you know what, if we want to control them, we need to control the finance, we need to control the transportation, and we need to control the education. And that's exactly what they did, right? The Rockefellers donated heavily in all major universities in the United States of America and put their version forth of history and their version.
It's not just education. The education included the medical schools.
Yes, that's where I was going with it.
They put the money into the medical schools so they would be the ones that would prescribe these petroleum byproduct drugs. And they closed down anything that wouldn't prescribe. They closed down all the holistic schools. Yeah. Anybody who was doing anything homeopathic or herbalist, that they called them the quacks when they were the true healers.
Yeah, they actually coined it Eastern medicine. They gave it some type of derogatory name, and it stuck, right? And I thought to myself, right, I actually think that the walls are starting to crack, right? And I think when it floods through, it's going to be amazing. But I said to myself, right? I don't know if you've ever been in any street fights before, but if
I try to avoid them at all costs.
right,
Yes.
if there comes a certain point in your when especially when I was growing up in the South, when you get into a street fight and you're like, you know what? Afterwards, you're like, you know, man, that dude actually, that was a pretty good punch, man. He rocked me, right? It was a good shot, man. Like even though you were just trying to kill him like an hour earlier, right? Like you'll look back and like, you know what, man? Wow, I felt that. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be sore tomorrow, right? And I gotta say, well played. That was like you guys really got. I mean, they thought this through, right? And I mean, completely evil, completely sociopath, completely narcissistic. I can't stand any of them, right? But at the same time, man, we can't make the mistake of saying that they're stupid, because they're not, man. Our enemy is incredibly crafty, and they're very resilient, right? It means that they're not easy to get rid of, right? And so, have I weirded you out? Because I got a little bit more. Have I weirded you out yet? No? You're good with this, right?
No, I don't get weirded out. You forget who I live with.
Yeah. Right. So that leads me to the next portion of. I like to end on like a positive note, right? As we walk out of here. Do you think that we've turned a curve, man, and that I did several episodes on here how symbolism is their downfall, right? And that symbolism is the worst form of communication, right? Because I can't just make up another alphabet and say, okay, like this is our code, right? If I put once I figure out what this means, right, then I know what that means now. And then from here on out, man, you'll never be able to use that again, right? So do you feel that we're headed for a brighter day, or do you feel that we're like, Hunger Games? Like, I'm really good with a bow, so I'm good either way, man.
So not to get too esoteric, but I think our consciousness
get esoteric, man. Dig deep, man.
Okay. I think our consciousness is being raised globally. And I think the more people who are open to raising their consciousness, and by that I'm not talking about something woo-woo, I'm talking about raising our awareness, but putting that awareness in the forefront of our thoughts, rather than hiding it behind ourselves, saying, I won't think about that because that's too hard to think about, but actually putting it out there, out front, and then talking about it. We need to stop being afraid to talk about these topics.
Yeah.
Everybody should be out there talking about whatever it is they see. Because the one thing, to your point about the evil ones, when things change, and I do believe that we're at a crossroads, it may not happen right away. It may take years to get us to where we need to be. But I think wherever we go in this human race, as we grow to be what we're supposed to be, if we see evil rising up, I think it's our responsibility to take it down. Yeah. We don't wait for government or some other we, the people, we, the individuals, need to stop evil before it takes hold. So if there's another Rockefeller coming up, we need to stop it. We need to shut it down. And
that's a good point too. I get into it sometimes. I talk about you, like I said, I talk about some stuff over here, right? Some people come at me and saying that, you know what, the aliens don't talk to us because we're destroying our planet. And I'm like, I said, so this is where I throw people at, right? I say, I would say 98%, that's probably me being a little bit low. I would say 99% of this planet are full of good people. And I'll give you a perfect example why, right? If you're broke down on the side of the highway and it is pouring rain, right? You would be shocked at the amount of people that will stop and get out in the rain and help you change that tire, right? Sure, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Sure, okay, 1 in 100. Here, you meet, stabby. All right, okay, yeah, you just won the lottery with that guy. Okay, sure, but like 99 out of 100 people on this planet are good people, and I think 99% of this people on this planet, right? They don't want problems, man. They really don't want, look, they don't want this problems, right? And so if you're an alien watching this and you think that the 1% of the people are any type of a reflection of like what's really going on down here, then you're an idiot too. Then I don't want you to stop. We'll sort it out ourselves, right? But that logic is so flawed to me. It's just so flawed to me, right? And I also think that I will get a little wooey on it. I actually do think that. Look, man, sheep are going to sheep. All right, that's all I'm going to say, man. Like I don't want to go down that route. I don't want to go down too hard on that, man. But sheep are going to sheep. But I do think that a lot of people were looking around, right, and they're like just looking back on that, and they're like, okay, well, all right, and then like, okay, well, that ain't going to work again. I'll tell you that right now. So like, I heard something come out the other day, and like I said, YouTube's got laws, but I don't want this video to get taken down, but I can tell you what, it that will not work again. I can promise you that will not work again. Period. So, I mean, like, if that was your shot, then, like I said in the street fight, Angela, that was a pretty good shot. Good job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. Caught me off guard on that.
You learn something from it. That's the thing. Yeah. And people should learn something from this, from the Sovereign Sisters podcast philosophy. I say all the time, at this point, you need to stop complying with those things that you know are not right for you. Just stop complying. And we are part of that 99% that you talk about. Yeah. We all want to live a good life. We want to help people. We want to live in a world that we love, not in a world that we can tolerate. Yeah. Tolerating just means you're putting up with people. That's not a way to live. Yeah, no. We want to live in harmony.
Yeah. So that's what I think. I actually think that the dam has got enough cracks in it right now that it's going to be impossible to repair. Anything moving forward is going to just accelerate. I'm being real careful with my words here. Accelerate the inevitable change that can't be stopped, right? And I tell this, I mean this in a loving way, Enigmites. I tell them all the time, don't be scared. Don't be afraid, right? And don't be. I used to be really scared of, snakes, right? I used to be really, really scared. I mean, like there's a story in the Bible where the Israelites were being marched through the desert for 40 years for disobedience, right? And God set upon them vipers, right? And the vipers they were actually killing them, right? And so I think it was Moses created a bronze serpent. And if you got bit by these vipers, if you looked at the bronze serpent, you wouldn't die from the venom, right? And so that's what stopped them from dying. And if you look at I think it was, I'll leave his name out of it because YouTube's weird. He had a great analogy of it, is that God didn't take the snakes away. He just showed you how not to be scared of snakes. And I think that's the point that I think that's a great point. So I used to be scared of snakes until I actually sat down and like studied a snake. And I could tell which ones could instantly kill me, which ones that couldn't, which ones that I should instantly kill, and which ones that I shouldn't, right? So basically, familiarity with the snake, what the snake was capable of and what it was doing. Now, I'm not picking up a rattlesnake. Those are instant death. I will kill a rattlesnake instantly, right? But I'm also not killing a tree snake or a frog snake or a black snake or anything like that, right? I'm avoiding copperheads. I'm from the South, so cottonmouth snakes are incredibly mean, so they need to get murked on site as well. But you get my point, right? And I think that that fits in perfectly to right where we're at when we're going into 2025. Now that we know what the snake is capable of, and I inadvertently took this back to Satan when I'm talking about snakes, but and now that you know what, no, I didn't mean I'm a genius. But anyways, you see, I didn't mean to do that, but it worked out. Now that you know what a snake is capable of, and now you know its weapons, now you can be a little bit more like, you know what? Nah, no, that's not gonna fly on it, and that's not gonna work. And if you go to the Sovereign Sisters, is it still Sisters or is this Sovereign Sister? Are we dropping that S or are we gonna look for
Sovereign Sisters? So we didn't change
Sovereign Sisters,
anything.
right? You got two openings over there. If you go to the Sovereign Sisters podcast over there and sign up, Angela's got a whole bunch of videos over there to teach you how to survive snake bites, how to get rid of, tuberculosis, how to cure everything that's wrong with you. So anyways, Angela, man, I know I've kept you here coming up on the hour mark. Man, great conversations, man. Thank you for getting weird with me. Before we walk out here, tell everybody where they can find you.
So we are on YouTube at Sovereign Sisters Podcast. Also, we go live Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Also on Rumble, and there it's at Sovereign Sisters. We post our content out at other places on BitChute and Brighteon and Telegram. I have a Telegram channel, Sovereign Sisters. The only one that wouldn't let us take Sovereign Sisters was YouTube. Figure that, right?
Right.
But everywhere else, we're Sovereign Sisters. And love having people over. I love having an interactive conversation with my audience. That's why we go live. I have the audience portion. We try to bring in anybody who wants to say something. Obviously, it's just by text. We bring them on. We talk about whatever they want to talk about. My goal is to have this interactive experience, basically. It's not just me. I hate it to actually just me talking. I'm like, people are tired of hearing me talking. Let's talk to each other. But my ultimate goal is to bring people to the awareness that they are sovereign, that they don't need the powers that are to tell them what to do or to what to say. The only power we need is God's. That's the one should guide us.
That's it. Also, you have a newsletter, right?
Absolutely. I send out a newsletter every week about the episodes. We, happy to have people join me in any way they want. I have a website that I still maintain because of my clinical practice. It's yourhealthunbound.com. I post things there, and there's a whole wealth of information there about health and wellness.
Okay. So how can I get on? How can they get on that newsletter by chance?
Well, in many ways, you can just sign up on. If you go to Your Health Unbound, there's a sign up.
Okay.
If you can email me, you can email Sovereign Sisters Podcast at proton.me. I'm open to everything. There are many avenues, and I'm also, my clinical practice is still going on if people are looking for that.
Excellent. Angela, thanks for coming on. Now, look, I tell everybody when I got you. Now I got you. Understand? Now you're in. Now you're in with me, weirdo. You'll never wash the stain of the ancient Enigma files off of you. Now you're in, right?
Does that make me an Enigmite?
You're an Enigmite, man. You're official now. You're
right.
in. And you're a lot more tin-fully than people probably like, oh, they're talking about herbs. Like, oh, wait, she just said Rockefeller? Well, hold on. What you talking about there? Oh, she's going down? A book of Enoch? Oh, okay. So, yeah, man. Look, don't pretend like you're not weird like us, all right? You're in. This is, you found the home,
Absolutely.
man. That's it. We're going to get you some Bigfoot stickers on that wall back there. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, hey, you got to find your tribe.
You need to give me a little Bigfoot to put in my display.
That's it, man.
I try to put something up with every podcast.
Yeah, we'll get you something there. We'll take care of you, man, for sure. Anyways, Angela, thanks for coming on. All her contact information, all the places to find her will be in the bio of this podcast. And you guys do us a favor, click on there, go over there, support her channel, get over, subscribe. You don't lose anything for it. And then, like I said, don't be hesitant to reach out. She got really good content. It's only a matter of time before it's discovered by YouTube and it's picked up. And she blows up and then she pretend like she don't know you, just like I will. So anyways, nerds, I won't see you till after the holidays. So be safe. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy your time. I say Merry Christmas. If you don't, well, you do now. Go spend time with your kids, your family, or whatever. If you don't have any family, there's a lot of lonely women out. Go out there. Start making a family, all right? You find a girl alone in a bar on Christmas Eve, right up your alley, dog. She's looking for a husband. So anyways, nerds, that's all you get for $1, and we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.